It is Friday, 8/25/2017. It is 8:04 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so you know what time it is. It is time for some coin metal. Now, my apologies, it's a little bit late, but unlike a lot of people, I don't like my coffee hot. I like it cold, so I had to make up my 32-ounce double Swiss Miss Venezuelan mocha concoction, and then of course cool it down to a tolerable, drinkable temperature. And unfortunately, I did not get into jiu-jitsu today. I feel terrible. I can feel the guilt of 100 jiu-jitsu partners on my shoulders at this moment, but it was not to be. I had to dedicate a little extra effort to Der Greenhouse today and straighten out a few misconceptions and misalignments I had going on the roof. But it is lining up. It is lining up the way I want it to. And, I'm taking my time making sure I get it right, because I know in a couple weeks' time, I'm not going to have the luxury of taking my time about it. In a couple weeks' time, I'm going to be fighting the weather. It's going to be windy. It's going to be probably raining, maybe even hailing, if not snowing. So, I want to kind of get ahead of the curve here, and kind of get away from any risks that I might incur later on. A lot of people like to just grow out in the open and whatnot. But, if you get any exposure to rain, and especially now when they're starting to go into fruiting, you get a little extra moisture nestled away into your buds, man. That could express as bud rot. It could be mold. It could increase chances of mildew. All kinds of shit. I'm already fighting back powdery mildew, and I found a neat little trick for this. And if you guys do ever have any trouble with powdery mildew, you might want to give this a try. It's just a spot treatment. But I mean, like, the shit grows like wildfire out here. And it's because we grow a lot of grapes out in this area, or at least this is one of the many explanations I've heard for it. And the fact that it's always my windward plant that seems to pick it up the first, and the second plant has started to pick it up a little bit. But in any case, the point being that because it's hitting the windward plants first, I would think it's maybe what the grape farmers inoculate their grapes with, and it's the same spore that they use, and it shows up on your plants. Like, it's like somebody's like running around with a spray can, and like they shoot it out with like a pin in the sprayer, to make it sputter. And like they'll like hit your plants with it really quick while you're not looking, and then like you'll look back and oh, hey, the little powdery mildew there. It's weird. It looks like droplets almost, right? And so anyway, the treatment for it, what you do is you take a sprayer, like a spray bottle, right? And I suppose you could probably do this with a car sprayer, one of those spray cans that you would use for what do you call that shit? If you were to be spray painting your vehicle with it, they had those ones with a little reservoir on it, and you put your paint in it, and then you spray paint your vehicle with it, right? Well, anyway, those are really good for dispensing stuff like mite treatment and so on and so forth. So anyway, what you do is you get some food grade mint extract. I know it's kind of oddball, right? And you mix it somewhere between 1/3 and 1/2, to your taste, 2-to-1, with water in your sprayer. So fill it halfway, and then put 1/3 more, whatever, of this food grade mint extract, or peppermint extract. I believe it's peppermint. Anyway, I sprayed that on, and you just take your fingers with gloves on them, and just kind of press it to where it breaks the beads and kind of makes it go against the leaf a little bit, you know. And you do that, and after it dries, there won't be any powdery mildew on the plant. It's like magic. Anyway, this isn't plant talk, nor is it jiu-jitsu talk. It is in fact coin metal. And unfortunately, we did go through the Verge Black paper last time around, so we don't have that to read this time around. And it was a tasty read. If you don't want to actually listen to me read it, you can find it online. It is available. And so, but we do have plenty of articles that we will be chewing on today, as it seems like the activation of Kira's SegWit or SegWit or Sedgwick or whatever the fuck, the activation of it wasn't as wonderful as everybody thought it was going to be. And so we're going to be talking about that today, and of course other things, because that's what we do here on Coin Metal. But for the moment, we are going to have our first dance, and I'm feeling the need to play something off 0 Days, because, I don't know, I feel the need. And you've probably heard Divide and Conquer elsewhere. I'm sure you've heard a few of the others, because I've played them on this show. But I really like the Whispers, and I haven't played it, but I think once, maybe twice so far. So that's the one it's going to be, the Whispers from Prong off of 0 Days for our first dance here on Coin Metal. And that was Megadeth with Good Morning Black Friday. I gotta say, that I love that album. I play it way too much on the show, and it's like 40 years old, but it still holds up. It still holds up. What can I say? Actually, it's not. I don't think it's 40 years old. Probably 30 years old, but it's fucking old, and it's still better than most of the shit that you hear on the radio today, which is pretty fucking pathetic, actually, if you think about it. Anyway, yeah, we are going to be getting into some stuff here today. It seems like there's been a recent resurgence of Litecoin, and I don't know what that's all about. I don't really care. I mean, it's cool, you know, if you're invested in Litecoin or you're mining Litecoin, cool, you know, you're making money. And that we like that. We like it when people in crypto make money. However, I'm not clear as far as what their status with regard to segregated witness and Lightning Network is. I mean, I know that they supposedly, you know, made the transition over to SegWit and all that, and got their 75% modified consensus or whatever. And so, you know, it's been active there supposedly for months. So let's see if we got Litecoin or Lightning Network. Then we're gonna look this up. Let's see, here it is. We're gonna have to adjust our tools so that we have. Let's go for past week. Lightning Network launches third release featuring Bitcoin. Lightning Network on LTC. Mainnet finally achieved Moon Time. This is 2 days ago. So there you go. That could very well be a good catalyst for it. Now, I don't know. I've heard all kinds of weird shit about Lightning Network. Like recently, and I think I read this last time, that supposedly LukeJr said something about it being a subscription service, that like you pay a subscription fee for every transaction you do. I mean, come on now, that's so terrible. I mean, it's right back to regular banking again. you know. I mean, it's just the names of things are different, but the function is more or less the same. So, I don't know. I expect that some interesting things are going to happen. You know, I mean, we're seeing that already. And as a matter of fact, I was going to talk about this right off the bat. And there have been a lot of interesting things happening on the Bitcoin network. Not all of them planned. As a matter of fact, a lot of them going not according to plan. And I think it's basically a restatement of the fact that you can make plans and you can write code and all that other business, but you cannot make the miners apply it. You can put all your deadlines that you want to and all that. It doesn't fucking matter. If they do not want to mine segregated witness transactions, they will not mine segregated witness transactions. And you cannot do shit about it. And we keep running into this wall over and over and over again. It's like people keep pretending like it doesn't exist. Like, oh, the miners, it doesn't matter what they want. We can tell them what we want, and we tell the miners what code to run, and we tell the miners whether or not they should be mining Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin SegWit coin. You know, we're the community, we're the users. Give me a fucking break, man. Every time I heard that, I was just like, you fucking people are ludicrous. You don't understand how this works. This is not how this works. The pool can say, yeah, we're going to support segregated witness, or we're going to support segregated witness 2x, or we're going to support... They can say that, okay, but they're just a pool operator. They do not account for what the miners do. Okay, and there's still thousands of them out there. And I'm hoping that this move, this reaffirmation of how the whole power structure actually works beyond the rhetoric that we see in crypto media, that it will give the people that have needed it the bitch slap they've needed to get the goddamn hardware back out of the closet, back out of the garage, dust it off, fire it up, throw your hat back in the ring, up that fucking difficulty, make some motherfucking money. I mean, really, dude. There's really no excuse not to at this point. I mean, you can look at that chart and you can look at the dips and you can fantasize that, oh my god, as soon as I start, it's going to dip. And I might have to eat shit for a moment or two. You know, you have to ride out the suck. If you rode out any, 2-3 day period where it was sucking on the Bitcoin network, something caused the price to go up. You know, I mean, everybody likes to focus on those really big jumps and really big dips, but they're not looking at any of the intermediate ones. You know, the intermediate run-ups and minor breakouts and little dips and little buying opportunities and shit like that. and it's, I think it's something to do with the mentality of transacting in debt vehicles for so long. You know, IOUs issued from private banks. You know, that because there is no actual limit on them, you know, that the liquidity, because it's controlled centrally, has kind of a reciprocal effect back to the market. They don't let the market just express on its own. They adjust the volumes of liquidity based on the market at any one time. And all the time, probably. You know? But and it's funny. There's other people that are proposing to do the same thing in cryptocurrencies. Like I guess Vericoin has something like that, where they have Varium and Vericoin. And all right, as soon as you start doing that shit, you start confusing people. Have a fucking coin. Not a coin with a monetized counter lever that keeps the thing liquid, or give me a fucking break, man. Live with the market as is. You know, if nobody wants to circulate your fucking coin, it's going to drop down in relative value. People are going to drop off your fucking network. You're going to get more susceptible to DDoS attacks and shit like that. And then your chain will die, and everybody will cry who gave a shit. Everybody else will continue investing in and utilizing other cryptocurrencies. And that's just the way of things. You know, but to assume that you've got enough sway at any point where you can tell everybody else how to Bitcoin, it's just silly. It is just silly. I mean, it's funny because the people that are commenting about this stuff now, and the lack of the lack of propagation of the segregated witness transactions across the network, they make it sound like people are still upgrading their hardware or something. You know, like we didn't know this was going to happen. Like, we didn't know back in like June that there was this big push for segregated witness. I mean, come on now. There's no excuse why everybody who wanted to be on the segregated witness chain isn't on the segregated witness chain. The reflections that you're seeing right now is called market sentiment. It's not just a matter of you've got bugs that still aren't worked out or whatnot. No, you don't have enough fucking hashing power. You know, or you're losing what hashing power you had. Anyway, the reason I'm going off on this little soliloquy is because people are blaming the lack of propagation of the segregated witness transactions by miners on various different things. Okay? And maybe one of them has some sort of merit. I'm not entirely certain. But it could just as easily be explained by as market sentiment, you know? It could easily be explained by that. And what's that Occam's razor thing, you know? No, it's not Occam's razor. I wanted to say something about, like, Sherlock Holmes. There's some saying about the obvious being the best choice. Anyway, here we are with an article on Cointelegraph, and let me check really quick just to make sure he's not... no. Wait a minute here. I don't know if I want to read this. I'm trying to check to see if it's just a reference from another article. No, it's just a really short article that for some reason I cannot read the comments for. Antpool, ASIC boost, share blame for Bitcoin network delays. And this is by William Suberg. And I'm not even going to quote how many hours ago it was, but William clearly has a penis. Bitcoin transaction delays and fees are increasing, thought to be the result of Antpool mining empty blocks. Multiple reports surfacing on social media pin the blame for the slow rate of approvals on miners deliberately not including SegWit transactions. The practice would cut capacity, increasing wait times and driving up fees. Data from blockchain.info on blocks found post-SegWit activation suggests Antpool, the largest Bitcoin mining pool, is circumventing SegWit transactions despite losing revenue. It could be that they didn't want to fucking run SegWit transactions to begin with, assholes. Quote, normally miners will confirm as many transactions as they can because when they confirm one, they earn the transaction fees from that transaction. One explanation reads, quote, Antpool has given up $100,000 plus in transaction fees in the last 24 hours alone by not confirming as many transactions as they can, i.e. by ignoring segregated witness transactions. Too fucking bad. The figure calculated by one Reddit user suggests Antpool missed out on $102,400 in fees in the past 24 hours alone. The motivation behind boycotting SegWit transactions lies in suspected use of ASIC boost by miners, a function which manufacturer Bitmain had previously denounced. Quote, using ASIC boost, however profitable, is not something we would do for the greater good of Bitcoin, the company wrote in a blog post in April. Now, I want to give some context here, okay? Because this reads to me as a bunch of bullshit. And the reason I say that is because throughout the entirety of this whole SegWit bullshit for the last 2 years, I have been ignored, I have been blocked, I've been shadow banned on Twitter, on Reddit, on various other groups because of various very, very simple questions concerning SegWit. It's like there'll be a conversation going and then I'll ask a very, very simple question regarding SegWit. And honestly, I do my best not to put any slant on it to indicate my preference for bigger blocks instead of off-chain solution, quote-unquote scaling solutions. But despite that fact, you know, that I adjust my rhetoric and whatnot to try and just get a straight answer about something, I get shit talked to me. I get called names. I get blocked on Twitter, and I get the blocking on Twitter is the one that bugs me the most. I got to tell you, because it's like I don't even want people to know that you asked me this question. I don't even want to acknowledge your existence. I don't want to discuss this at all with you. It's like, really? I mean, you know, this whole Bitcoin is supposed to be about consensus, and not just about consensus of core, consensus of everybody. You know, and not just consensus of miners, consensus. And although miners are the predominant party, and if you really want your vote to count, you should be mining. The point being that we've had this argument for the last 2 years now, and this whole time the segregated witness / Lightning Network people have been intentionally deceptive, have been censoring other people trying to comment on segregated witness and Lightning Network, and so it shows to me a disdain for actual discussion and more an attempt to create the impression of a narrative where there really is none. You know, I mean, or not a narrative, a dialogue rather, where there is none. And they use very, very suggestive language, like, you know, Bitcoin users would see some sort of benefit from this introduction of this, you know, BIP. Very unspecific language, you know. But so far, it seems like the actual consensus mechanism is working according to the way it was designed. And just like the 2016 election, unfortunately, the results are dissimilar from the druthers of a small but vocal minority. And I think that this is such an important step as far as humans and our interaction with one another go. This is such a huge step. We're literally divesting the known authorities that we have over money and whatnot. We're divesting ourselves from them and replacing them with people that we don't know, based on a mild kind of understanding of the software that they're presenting to us and the actual function of it. And that's a really big step. I mean, that's a really big step. We're not looking to Goldman Sachs to solve this shit for us, and we're not looking to the U.S. government to solve this for us, and we're not looking to the Federal Reserve to solve this for us. And these are traditionally the groups of people that we will be turning to try and solve this shit. But the thing that we're trying to solve is to divest ourselves from them, divest our monetary transactions from their participation. And as I said, I think given the import of that kind of transition, I see anything that would divest that power back to brokers of trust, legacy brokers of trust that we've tried to divest ourselves from, to be a step backward. It's kind of how I view the movement to push mass transit. I think because we're in the 21st century, we should have 21st century conveyance. And according to all the movies, we're supposed to be flying around in our individual flying vehicles now. So let's get on with that, because that's 21st century. This let's live in the 1950s or worse yet, the 1850s, and act like there is some sort of arbiter of trust that can be trusted with our money, when there's clear indication that just isn't true. I think it's just silly that people that are in this space are trying to reintroduce those same bodies back into it. And we expected them to introduce themselves back into it, and that's cool. They got their R3 thing going on. But we aren't under any obligation to do what they are asking to do. We're under no obligation to adopt segregated witness. Although various parties involved in the crypto space would like us to, but it's not necessarily the only way out. And it's funny, people keep talking about cryptocurrencies in such a way that they seem to think that there's some merit in trying to involve people in cryptocurrencies without their knowledge or without their personal desire to do so. And personally, I take offense at that. I think it's nothing better than what we already have with credit cards and banks. So when people talk about mass adoption and whatnot, you know what? When mass adoption will happen? Mass adoption will happen when a big number of people decide to involve themselves in this. And if they understand up front that involving themselves in this includes the possibility of their actually participating as a node on the network, as a miner on the network, that would motivate them to involve themselves in exactly that way. And what does that do for the rest of us? That increases the density of the networks. It lowers the number of individual hops that the transactions have to make before they can be 100% confirmed. That's good for everybody. You know, this push towards segregating the witness data so that, you know, level 2 options can be created. Okay, yeah, that's wonderful. Now, exactly what do you mean by level 2? Are you talking about like some service that I'm going to be able to project out, you know, without a license or anything like that, and I'm going to be able to make money doing? Or are you talking about something that only people that are already able to afford to participate in legacy markets are going to be able to afford the licensure and the insurance for? Because if that's what you're talking about, you can just take that and shove that right back up your ass where you found it. I have absolutely no desire to participate in something like that. I want something that out in Botswana, where they might have a couple deprecated P3s laying around, that they would be able to at least run a node to be able to increase their the possibility of their transactions being included into the next block. And you want to talk about making fees cheaper and stuff like that, you got to increase participation. And that's really where I think Bitcoin Cash has the advantage, because they cannot have up to 8 megabyte blocks. That's 8 times more transactions, even without pairing any data off of them. And so that's 8 times as many fees per block. You think you might be able to find for yourself in there some way to make money? I think you can. And I think the likelihood is a lot higher than segregated witness and Lightning Network, because I think Lightning Network, for all intents and purposes, they've already written the legislation in a couple states that if we were to implement that shit and we were to get on with doing Lightning Networks, they already have legislation that will require licensure for that shit. You know, all the time that the funds are caught up in your payment channel, you're a custodian if you're a node on there. So any states that have laws concerning custody of funds, you're going to have to adhere to those. I'm sure the federal government and multiple federal organizations have the same thing. So here again, do we stick with what we've got with nice on-chain transactions and off-chain options for those who actually are taking up the risk of running things like casinos and credit card companies and exchanges and quote-unquote banks? You know, if they want to assume that risk, let them assume that risk. Do not make that risk a part of the function of Bitcoin by default. That's just stupid. It is just absolutely stupid. Anyway, enough with my rant. Let's go ahead and throw back down to some music. And I've been wanting to throw in some body count. I'm feeling the need. Body count. Body count. And where is my body count on here? I just bought their latest album, and I gotta tell you, I'm pretty impressed with it. I like it a lot. It's Bloodlust, and I've had varying opinions of the project, but I've got to say I really think that Ice-T and crew really delivered with this one. And I played No Lives Matter last time. I'm going to go ahead and throw down Bloodlust this time. So here it is. Body Count, Bloodlust, here on Coin Metal. And that was Slipknot with a little bit of duality there. Anyway, yeah, we were talking about this whole differential between the transactions and whatnot. And one thing here, Tone Vase has a tweet in here, and that dude in his charts, man, it's almost as it's almost as good as his Vulcan-shaped head. Anyway, he had this tweet in here. It says, "So Bitcoin mempool is 27 megabytes deep with 44,000 transaction backlog. But here is a big block cheerleader mining empty blocks. Bitmain Tech mining empty blocks. Yeah, you know what? We didn't want your fucking SegWit shit. Sorry, dude. Yeah, you know." They didn't want it 2 years ago. I don't think they want it still. So, you know, all the coercion and the fisting on social media and whatnot, that's just you know, it's fun to look at and whatnot. I guess it's kind of fun to participate in. But what does it ultimately achieve? You know, to me it it identifies people that I don't necessarily want to talk to. I mean, when I see how they treat me, it's like, you know, I don't really care if I talk to you. You know, it's like I was asked if I was arching a certain person, and I said no. Arching would require effort. and this person has already blocked me, so it's kind of clear that not really worth the effort. Anyway, got this other article here, and this one's on trust nodes. I don't know that I've ever read an article off of trust nodes before. And this one was published on August 24th. That was an interesting noise. And here it is. SegWit Bitcoin. 60 hours and no confirmation. $60 fee for one transaction. Many Bitcoiners are in shock today after finding out that despite SegWit's activation, nothing has changed, even though the upgrade was meant to increase capacity. That has not happened, with Bitcoiners taking to public spaces to complain about high fees or transaction delays. One of them says, quote, "Before SegWit, each transaction fee was around $7. Now it is $8. What?" He received a classic reply, quote, "My advice is to stop transacting on Bitcoin." Quote, "Now that SegWit has locked in, what is holding Bitcoin back from cheap transactions and quick confirmations? This is the event I've been waiting for, but so far it feels like nothing changed. Please explain," says one Bitcoiner. Might have something to do with all those miners that, quote, "don't matter." The reply he received was less facepalmy, but he most probably was very disappointed, perhaps even shocked, to be told the following, quote, "It is unlikely you'll see cheaper on-chain transactions ever, unless Bitcoin becomes unpopular. As long as Bitcoin remains popular, it will have high on-chain transaction fees." It's what big blockers told them all these years. Once again, they're proven right. SegWit won't increase capacity, they said. The entire ecosystem needs to change their code. People need to use it. It will take months, they said. Its transaction sizes will be bigger anyway, so it might even lower capacity, they said. All this time, fees will rise, they said. The network will become congested, for some, as good as unusable. There will be delays of hours, they said, all of which has come to pass. Now Bitcoiners get to enjoy the effects of a masterpiece that took 2 years to code, so many, quote, workshops, plenty of meetings, agreements and breaches of agreements, censorship and banning, as well as declaration by some that only the chain Bitcoin core developers support is Bitcoin. This Bitcoin. Quote, sent a transaction from Electrum over 2 days ago using dynamic fees set at the highest they could be set at. Never had a transaction take over 2 days. Anyone have any ideas what the cause could be, or any ideas on what I could do? A Bitcoiner says in a thread titled, quote, 60 plus hours, still no confirmations. The above advice applies in this case because there isn't anything he could have done, and it's actually a graphic. My advice is stop transacting in Bitcoin. The above advice actually applies in this case because there isn't anything he could have done since he claims to have used the highest suggested fee. It happens at times because everyone else might be using that highest suggested fee or slightly higher, or because difficulty changes, or there are no blocks found, or for some time due to their random distribution, which is meant to average 10 minutes, but sometimes it takes an hour. In some instances, even a high fee leaves you stuck. The Bitcoiner above paid $60, but is still waiting for a confirmation 3 days later. And it's a graphic from, it looks like blockchain.info. The transaction is bigger than usual, but the 50 to 5 Satoshi per byte he paid was the going rate at the time. Now it has doubled, so the poor Bitcoiner has his $20,000 stuck. We can't imagine the torment he must have gone through all these days, wondering if he did something wrong, if the funds are lost, frantically Googling how to solve it. You just have to wait, unfortunately, until it drops from the queue, which should be around now, and then resend it again with far higher fee. Welcome to the internet, money. As good as snail mail, and as cheap as a 1 megabyte floppy disk in the 70s. Wait! Time his bytes into 1 megabytes. Remove floppy disk, enter MacBook desktop. Okay, change 70s to let's be nice. And I guess it's got some weird graphic here. Magic internet money. You might say that the above Bitcoiner had too big a transaction, or his fee was too low, but he is hardly from alone in complaining. There's a backlog of transactions on Bitcoin because its capacity is lower than floppy disks. Even they could handle more than 1 megabyte, a capacity level that is now so useless teenagers don't even know what a floppy disk is. So the above Bitcoiner is hardly from alone. Here is one who paid a $17 fee to move around $130 worth of Bitcoin, making it a 10% fee on top of billions Bitcoiners collectively pay to miners in block rewards. He might have been in a hurry, or perhaps he wanted to be really sure the transaction confirms, but his fee isn't far off from the $4.50 for the simplest transaction, and for around $9 for most ordinary transactions. All of this on the day SegWit activates. The upgrade that was meant to increase capacity, or so they were told. Instead, the only thing it seems to have increased is fees. You know, I didn't make those predictions about segregated witness. My predictions about segregated witness have about 2 years to come to full fruition. And my predictions are that segregated witness was set up for Lightning networks, right? And Lightning networks are set up for banks. They're functionally not dissimilar at all to Ripple. And as a matter of fact, on that note, if you read the white paper or any of the information about Ripple and you start checking out the metrics and considering what it does, you find yourself thinking strange thoughts, especially if you've already read the segregated witness material and the Lightning Network material. You start noticing some commonalities. Like the 40,000 transactions per second and potential to be higher. That metric is used in both papers, in reference to Ripple and in reference to Lightning networks. So, I've characterized segregated witness / Lightning network as the Rippleification of Bitcoin, and it doesn't seem to be too far off so far. Although, from what I understand, Ripple actually has lower fees. So, on that note, you're losing SegWit. I don't know. Sometimes I think it's all intended. It was intended to happen this way. That this segregated witness shit was meant to sour people on Bitcoin. But I think that the sooner that we see the full expression of SegWit, with like Lightning Network, supposedly there's been Lightning Network activated on Litecoin, and we may investigate that to see if there's any description of actual function or whatnot, or how it's working. But anyway, personally, I don't want to see that come to Bitcoin, but we have the alternative of Bitcoin Cash now, and what I would really like to see happen is Bitcoin Cash be dubbed Bitcoin, because it does have the Bitcoin blockchain, and there are a couple differences, but the biggest one is the block size and the fact that it doesn't have segregated witness. So, with that looming in the shadows, it's going to be a lot harder to coerce people and say, you have to use segregated witness. You have to use a Lightning Network to transact. No. Anyway, there's another article here on trust nodes, and I don't see an attribution on here of the individual who actually wrote it. Let me see if it's down here on the bottom. No, it does not appear to have an actual attribution, which is unfortunate, because I do like to give credit or blame the person who wrote it, depending on the competency of the author. Anyway, this is on trust nodes. SegWit activates, fees increase, congestion remains, no noticeable change. And this one is on August 24th, 2017 at 10:49 a.m. After more than 2 years of debate, segregated witness SegWit has finally activated on the Bitcoin Core chain at around 3 a.m. London time on the 24th of August, 2017. The upgrade is meant to increase capacity to around 1.7 megabytes from the previous 1 megabytes, but hours after its activation, it has increased it by none at the time of writing. The reason might be because miners may need to increase their soft limit from the current 1 megabyte to 2 megabyte, or perhaps even 4 megabytes. At the same time, the entire ecosystem needs to modify their code so that it works with segregated witness. That includes exchanges like Coinbase and Kraken, which have to upgrade their code beyond just upgrading a node. A task that may take some time, As such, currently, it's as if SegWit hasn't activated at all as far as capacity is concerned, with everyone waiting for the first bigger than 1 megabyte block, something which would depend on an organic use of SegWit. This compares to the simple base block size increase that Bitcoin Cash used. Their very first block was 4 megabytes, clearing the entire backlog, with the network creating an 8 megabyte block too, processing 40,000 transactions, thus instantly increasing capacity. The SegWit upgrade instead has only increased fees at this stage. Peter Wheel, a Blockstream employee and Bitcoin Core developer who coded much of SegWit, paid an $8 fee to try and claim the title of having made the first SegWit transaction. He only managed to get in third, showing that even the so-called wizards have no clue how this, quote, fee market works, let alone the mere mortals who have to pay a fee of $4.25 for the simplest 226 bytes transaction. And there's a nice little graphic here of transactions and whatnot. Some transactions are double that size, which means double that fee at $8. Organic segregated witness transactions are usually bigger, so will anything actually change at all? SegWit's critics have long argued it does not actually increase blockchain capacity in any meaningful sense or in any timely fashion because of the combined factors of bigger transaction sizes and considerable ecosystem-wide effort to upgrade the entire infrastructure. The process will likely be very gradual and slow over many months, which might mean that as far as the end user is concerned, it would be as if there was no SegWit upgrade at all. That said, we may soon get a bigger than 1 megabyte block on the Bitcoin Core chain, but it may contain less transactions or the same amount of transactions, with any increase probably not even noticeable. That's because SegWit is not really a capacity upgrade. It does not have much to do with block size. Its aim is primarily to segregate witnessing signatures so as to make malleability of transactions more difficult to allow for second layer protocols like the Lightning Network. Okay, there we go. There is a different context right there for the, quote, malleability problem than we have ever heard before. And according to this, it's to make malleability of transactions more difficult to allow for second layer protocols like the Lightning Network. Continuing. That protocol remains in heavy development. Once it comes out, its effects too might not be very noticeable for end users, as the entire ecosystem or a great part of it needs to adopt it, which will necessarily take time. That's why big blockers argued for an increase of capacity to provide that needed time, while public blockchains like Ethereum provide their users the option to transact on the blockchain or a second layer Lightning Network like protocols such as Raiden or Plasma. However, Bitcoin Core developers and in particular employees of Blockstream Corp think such time is needed for blockchain fees to increase so that Lightning Network is ready for everyone, except for Lightning Network hubs stop using the blockchain. Some consider that to be a complete transformation of the peer-to-peer network, but the market now has plenty of choices, so they are very free to decide how to transact. Oh wait, there's something interesting. And we might just look at that too. Oh shit. And we might just talk. And we've mentioned Ripple, and I think we might have actually found a commonality for tonight's fodder. Gee willikers. Trust Nodes is turning into a half-decent source of information. Or at least potential information. And I swear I've seen one of these guys in person. Perhaps both of them. I don't know. They both look very familiar. Anyway, this one's on Trust Nodes as well. And again, no attribution to the author. So anyway, continuing. Quote, avoid using SegWit, says Blockstream quote contractor after celebrating its activation. LukeJr, a Blockstream contractor, told everyone not to use SegWit after he celebrated its activation with a SegWit cake and a party. LukeJr says, public service announcement, if you support reducing the block size, good for Bitcoin, avoid using SegWit for normal transactions. Only use SegWit for Lightning. Lightning doesn't exist for end users and might not this year at all, with the protocol still in heavy development as far as we are aware. Moreover, it's not clear why he thinks a SegWit transaction would be different from an ordinary transaction, except that such SegWit transactions are usually much bigger. In which case, it might be a good advice, but then he is saying SegWit doesn't actually increase capacity because any increase is taken by their bigger block size. LukeJr joined many other Blockstream employees in celebrating SegWit's activation, together with a cake made specifically for the occasion. Moreover, he spearheaded attempts to force its activation through a UASF Flag Day soft fork, which threatened to chain split Bitcoin into 2 or 3 currencies. He therefore was a very vocal supporter of SegWit and took action to increase its chances of activation. But now that it has activated, he is saying we actually shouldn't use it. That might be because Bitcoin Core developers have now become politicians to some extent, something which is necessary if they are to define Bitcoin, as some, like Bitwala, have said. Because whether SegWit transactions are used for the Lightning Network or for ordinary use, it makes no difference as far as nodes and their resource usage is concerned. However, claiming he'd rather people don't use it gives an easy dismissal to the fact they aren't actually using it, and to the fact that it's providing as good as no extra capacity. SegWit transactions amount to 0 in the most blocks, with 1 or 2 at the most being found on average. The one bigger than 1 megabyte block that has been mined has only 32 kilobytes of extra capacity. That makes SegWit a complete flop at this stage. So, changing the tune like good politicians to don't use it anyway might perhaps be the only option for our brave new Bitcoin Core currency. I've taken to calling it SegWit coin, just to divest it of any association with Bitcoin. But I don't know. I don't trust any of this shit. Really, I don't. I don't trust the media about it. I don't trust it. I think a lot of times articles like that are to kind of encourage a little bit of complacency on your part. It's like this whole UASF bullshit. I mean, if you read the information, it was nothing short of a 51% attack. It was an attempt for an organized 51% attack. And sure, it caused some people to make some agreements, but those have yet to shake out in actual material. So, I think it's really convenient that LukeJr, which I'm pretty sure he's one of the people that blocked me on Twitter. I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't quote me. But anyway, it's really interesting that he would be changing his tune like that. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of any of that crap. I think that we'll see what we'll see. They tried to force the hand of the miners, and they got a response. Whether it was the response that they wanted, again, that remains to be seen. They've got some sort of thing that's scaled out till November to happen. Like, if it doesn't happen by November, like the majority of blocks being mined or some shit like that, by November, like, makes it irreversible or some... I can't remember, like, what it is, but there's, like, some looming time locks for certain things to be, like, made permanent or whatever that still exist, that haven't yet clicked into gear. And, I think the fact that there's still intransigence on the part of the miners to avoiding going with it. Hey, you know what? I think that's their function. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to look at the code and say, you know what? Do I want to include this? Do I not want to include this? No, I don't want to include this. That's what they're supposed to do. It's not, oh, but Core really wants me to do this. Fuck Core. If Core really wants it done, they can fire up their own fucking miners. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down a little bit of music here. I'm thinking I would like to throw in a little bit of Tool here, a little Vicarious here on Coin Metal. And that was Rio Grande Blood by Ministry. And I debated taking a sip of this beforehand, but, I didn't want to let it run into the next song, so I'm going to take a sip of coffee at the moment. I tried not to do it directly into the microphone, so... Alright. Anyway, back to articles. And I think I lost my place here. Where the hell was I? I got so many tabs open these days. Oh, I got one about a fake Satoshi too. We might even talk about that. And, oh, here it is. And this is kind of interesting. Another interesting development, kind of related to that whole segregated witness business. But this one was authored on August 25th, 2017, and I found it on Trustnodes while reading one of the other articles. So anyway, you guys ought to like this. Bitcoin Cash mining hash rate briefly overtakes Bitcoin Core, becomes longest chain. And again, this was authored August 25th, 2017, 12:05 p.m. The mining hash rate for Bitcoin Cash briefly rose higher than that of Bitcoin Core today, gaining majority at slightly above 51%, currently standing at around 45% at the time of writing. That made it the most secure chain out of the two for that period, just over 3 weeks after the chain split currency came into existence. Bitcoin Cash remains more profitable to mine at the time of writing, attracting considerably more hash rate than Bitcoin Core on some mining pools, such as via BTC. That has made Bitcoin Cash's blockchain the longest chain out of the two, which combined with the majority hash rate can give the currency claim to the Bitcoin name. Yes. Its price remains lower at around 15% of Bitcoin Core, primarily because it has not attracted necessary infrastructure such as easy merchant processing a la BitPay. The latter is more focused on SegWit 2x, taking some considerable flack recently, primarily from Blockstream employees, after asking their merchants to download the SegWit 2x client. While other major merchants processor Coinbase has not yet managed to even distributing Bitcoin Cash, let alone offering it as an option to their merchants, which in combination might open the door to a new competing entrant, especially as ETH is also lacking an easy means for merchants to accept it. With fees in Bitcoin Core continuing to rise to new highs even after segregated witness activation and complaints of delays for hours and days, it will be interesting to see if the brief overtake in hash rate becomes a more long-term occurrence. Miners are oscillating between the two dependent on profitability, probably even using automatic programs to instantly switch, so one of the currencies might have to become a clear quote winner for some stability. Something which may take months, especially as the Bitcoin Core chain faces a November standoff regarding SegWit 2x that might lead to even more infighting. Therefore is not clear what the market will decide in a more long-term manner. For now, some projects are already moving to Bitcoin Cash due to its low fees and as good as instant transactions. Others may follow if the chain continues to attract adoption and users, making it a real viable alternative to Bitcoin Core. And that's it. And so, yeah, there you have it. An overtaking of Bitcoin Core by Bitcoin Cash as far as hash rate is concerned. And I would expect a price flippening to follow that. You know? I mean, there's only going to be so much interest in maintaining the price at $4,000 a fucking coin if the interest is moving over to Bitcoin Cash. And then there's also the manner of terminating the SegWit chain and migrating straight over to Bitcoin Cash and naming it Bitcoin. I don't know. We'll see. You know, this shit has yet to shake out fully, and I really think that if Bitcoin Core doesn't adjust their mentality with regard to SegWit 2x, they're probably going to be facing an even greater loss of hash rate and participation amongst other people, and I think eventually they'll lose the moniker of Bitcoin. I don't know. I mean, it'll all depend on how things shake out. You know, we have a couple months for things to work through. And, you know, it's funny, I keep thinking about that time scale in different senses. Like, you know, I think of it in terms of my project out there. By November, I mean, shit, that'll be completely done. Be working on next round or something by then, hopefully. You know, I still have to resolve one additional issue after I've finished the outdoor build, and after that one's accomplished, though, I'll be set. I'll be like completely fucking set. And actually, I'd really like to accomplish that one like before harvest, at least. I mean, because then I'll be able to facilitate something else for other purposes that'll be needed by then. Anyway, so yeah, it's a very interesting development with regard to Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin Core. I don't think it's gone unnoticed, and I'm sure that we're going to be hearing a lot more pundits talking about it. You know, because like I said, it is pretty important given the fact that, you know, we've been hearing about this SegWit shit for 2 fucking years now. Since 2015, we've been hearing about all the wonderful things it's going to bring to Bitcoin. You know, and you would think that they would have had a better client out the gate. You know, but they tried to, you know, satisfy everybody to get everybody on board with their shit prematurely before the shit is even ready. I mean, they don't even have Lightning Network, and that's supposed to be the thing that uses segregated witness the most. You know, when they talk about layer 2, they're talking about fucking Lightning Network. You know, and there's supposedly like 15 or 16 different layer 2 options. And we talked a little bit about that last night, or not last night, but on the last show, where they gathered in some, I think it was in Milan, and they sent a representative from each of these groups to try and define uniform standards between themselves. And you know what? I'm starting to think that the whole conversation can be had between segregated witness and all these monkeys that want to get it on the Lightning Network coattail. Maybe 40 people, you know, 15 of them were at this fucking meeting in Milan, you know, and so, you know, that's like 50% of the people actually having this conversation that are involved in quote unquote coding or developing new projects and shit. So anyway, at this point, they're talking about building their shit on top of vaporware. I mean, supposedly there's something on Litecoin, and we may actually get to that article today. But yeah, they don't have it working for Bitcoin, and that's been the biggest fucking driver for this thing. So anyway, we were talking earlier about how segregated witness and Lightning Network basically is like the Rippleification of Bitcoin. And I caught this other article on Trust Nodes, and I had to kind of chuckle to myself. Here it is, and this one was authored again today at August 25th at 3:26 p.m. Ripple crashes after conference announcement. Ripple dived some 20% today after Ripple Labs announced a new conference to take part in Toronto during October this year. Ben Bernanke, former chairman of the Federal Reserve, and Tim Berners-Lee, inventor of the World Wide Web, I thought that was Al Gore, are to give the keynote speeches. Further participation includes numerous banks as well as Hyperledger and Chain, together with personnel from Ripple Labs. The conference is, quote, "It is attracting a roster of payments experts and industry luminaries to discuss trends, success stories of blockchain implementations, and real-world blockchain use cases to meet challenging customer demands for global payments," Ripple says. And there's a hyperlink here. We might even dive into that. Price, however, crashed on the news, down from around 30 cents to 20 cents after it rose from 15 cents, mainly on speculation based on vague tweets from Ripple at the time. They engaged in a 3-day countdown or so, with rumors swirling regarding what the announcement might be. Some speculated it might concern a new banking partnership or perhaps something even bigger, while some suggested it's just a conference. Based on those rumors, Ripple's price rose to around 30 cents, doubling in a matter of hours, with the actual news itself attracting some considerable sell-off. Its trading volumes have risen above 1.1 billion, higher than Ethereum, as the currency becomes more volatile. As far as the conference itself is concerned, there isn't much detail besides what we provided above, lacking any suggestion of actual topics to be discussed. So, in a typical fashion, after making a bit of noise, Ripple might go back to not being noticed, especially now that Bitcoin Cash has taken their usual third-place position. The currency used to be a fixed feature at second place after Bitcoin until Ethereum came. Then it hanged around at third place until Bitcoin Cash came. Now it might keep fourth position since other digital currencies are far behind, and it might hang on there without much sound until perhaps October. And just as a side note, it has a graphic here of two of the people that are going to be at this thing, but I might save it for the actual announcement itself. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, here it is. So, this is Swell by Ripple, October 16th through 18th, 2017 in Toronto. Recently, our customers requested that Ripple bring together leaders in banking and blockchain who are committed to changing the way the world moves money today. Challenge accepted. Today we're pleased to announce Swell. The future is here, taking place in Toronto from October 16 to 18. Swell is attracting a roster of payments experts and industry luminaries to discuss trends, success stories of blockchain implementations, and real-world blockchain use cases to meet challenging customer demands for global payments. To kick off the program, we're delighted to announce our keynote speakers. Monday, 12:30 p.m., Dr. Ben Bernanke, Chairman, Federal Reserve System, 2016 to 2014. Tuesday, 12:30 p.m., Sir Tim Berners-Lee, inventor of the World Wide Web. Dr. Ben Bernanke, the Federal Reserve System 2006-2014, to be interviewed by Gene Sperling, National Economic Council Director and National Economic Advisor under Presidents Clinton and Obama, 1996 to 2001 and 2011 to 2014. Sir Tim Berners-Lee, inventor of the World Wide Web, who will present a look ahead into the future of tech. This bold program also includes the following speakers. Stay tuned for the full agenda to be published on September 12th. And here's a list of the group, and let's see if there's any interesting people in here. Not really. I mean, bunch of monkeys, basically. But yeah, I hope it wasn't lost on anybody. Dr. Ben Bernanke, orchestrator of the Federal Reserve System, the chairman of the Federal Reserve System from 2006 to 2014. Gosh, what year did Bitcoin come into existence? Oh yeah, that was 2009. Gosh, I wonder if it was a response to some of the decisions Dr. Ben Bernanke was making at the time at the Federal Reserve. I would wager that is the case. Kind of sickening that he would be involved in a cryptocurrency thing. I mean, except for maybe, I don't know, like if there were a cryptocurrency like convention, he would be best suited in like the dunk meat pool where you sit there with the basketball and you like try and get it into the hoop, and if it goes through the hoop, he goes into the water. Yeah, that would be Ben Bernanke's best role in involving himself in cryptocurrencies. But that's just me. That's my perspective. Because I mean I watched all this shit going down, and I mean at the pinnacle of all of it, you know, the tenor setter of it all is the Federal Reserve. And we've covered other articles concerning members of the Federal Reserve and their interactions with the market. There was some chick that we read an article that was an interview with her, and she was saying how they make a phone call down to the stock exchange, and they say, you know, it'd be really nice if gold were to go up, and then hang up the phone, and then next thing you know, lo and behold, the fucking all the gold mining stocks go up, gold itself goes up in response to this expectation of the Federal Reserve. So the idea that they're disconnected from the market, you know, that they don't have some massive sway over the moves of the market, they make the money. I don't mean like they make something and they sell it and they make money for it. No. They make the money. You know, they wave a magic wand and they get some more zeros on the left-hand side of the decimal point. I mean, that's they make the money. When there's fluctuations in the interest rate, when there's fluctuations in the available volume of liquid capital out there, the Federal Reserve is at the root of that. So to, you know, act like they're like some passenger in the world economy is fucking bullshit. Complete and utter bullshit. They're a private bank with an interest of a private bank, and again, why they're associated with cryptocurrencies, I have no idea. You know, I mean, other than maybe attempts at self-preservation. But again, here at the crux of it all is the root of why any as a matter of fact, any currency, the root of why they function. It's the confidence of the users themselves. Now, would you be at all confident using a cryptocurrency that the Federal Reserve was mining? I mean, I'm pretty sure the answer for a lot of you is no. You would rather transact in Dogecoin than Federal Reserve coin. You would rather switch over to Litecoin, even though they are using segregated witness, than use Federal Reserve coin. I mean, these are the very people we're trying to escape. Why would you willingly transact in their coin? That just doesn't make any fucking sense to me at all. But, you know, it gives some sort of credence to the idea that cryptocurrencies are actually the invention of banks. But, the fact of the matter is I was involved in mining in the beginning. And some of the crypto media and maybe a few of the big players in the industry itself have been compromised by banker cash, banker promises, banker bribes. But they represent a finite number of actual participants. And I think that we're going to find that out in the not so distant term. That it's going to be Hillary Clinton all over again with this segregated witness thing, where it just doesn't happen. And all of the cheerleaders are going to be sitting there with their popcorn going, oh, why is it segregated witness being adopted? Why don't people like it? Why won't people use it? Maybe because they never wanted it. Maybe because all the hype and shit and all the hopium that you've been getting yourself fucking high on for the last 2 years was exactly that. Hopium. It wasn't real. Because instead of taking your time and investing that energy and effort into, mining, you wasted your fucking breath on endless social media accounts talking shit to people, talking down to people that have millions of dollars invested in this shit, and acting like a fucking asshole. I mean, come on now. And I would like to be generous to these people, because you know what? They're participants like I am. But I can't be, because they've been a fucking asshole to me, or quite a few of them have. So, I'm not going to name names, because I believe in redemption. I believe we can change our minds, and I believe we do make mistakes. I make mistakes all the fucking time. So am I going to judge somebody for making a mistake, making an error in judgment? Hell no. Give me a fucking break, man. We have bigger fish to fry than to sit here and point fingers at one another. We have on our shoulders the expectations of all the fucking people that have ever heard anything about Bitcoin, have heard anything about cryptocurrencies. We have their expectations on our shoulders to be able to provide P2P transactions, person-to-person digital transactions, without the need for a third-party intermediary. And that includes Lightning networks and Lamino and Ethereum and all that other bullshit. Transaction between me and you. That is a big enough challenge. Do that successfully. Keep doing that successfully. Worry about doing that successfully in the future. Consider possible alterations in the topology of your network and how that may impact the viability of your coin. Whether it be an increase in nodes or an increase in miners or a decrease in miners. Will an increase in miners cause an issue for you later on? These are the kinds of things you need to be concerning yourself, not how do we create gateways that we can tax and fucking extort money from our users with. Because there's plenty of people actively pursuing that, while they should be doing things like creating marketplaces where they go to their friends who make products in the comfort of their own home and say, hey, that looks pretty fucking cool. Hey, can I put a picture of that on my website and sell it to other people for cryptocurrencies? That's what y'all need to be involving yourselves in. Not, can I make a fucking gateway protocol that nicks 0.000125% per transaction and puts it in my fucking wallet and playing Office Space with this shit. Get with it, people. Get over this shit that you matter so much that you need to be unjustly rewarded. You do not matter. You are involved in something so much fucking bigger than yourself that you do not have the luxury of thinking about enriching yourself unjustly, except for at the expense of others on the exchange. That's where you do that shit. Not in the service. Your challenges right now are making your shit faster, making your shit cheaper, and doing it on chain. You know, this whole pursuit of off-chain bullshit, leave that to people who want to do off-chain bullshit. Do not try and integrate off-chain bullshit into the fucking code of the coin that is going on-chain. Leave that to people that want to make their exchanges, leave that to people that want to make their fucking casinos, and leave that people that want to make their own banks. Leave that to them. Let them hire you as a developer. Let them pay you $100 fucking an hour to develop their fucking blockchain. Do not force the rest of us to use your bullshit just to make you fucking happy. You don't need to be that happy. Bankers are that happy. Are you real happy that they're that happy? No, you're not. If you were, you wouldn't be here. Rant over. Let's drop back down into a little bit of music here. I'm running a little bit low. Oh, and to that point, I do have, supposedly, at least 10 albums coming. Or it's somewhere between 8 and 10. I've gotten 2 of them already, so I got another 8 somewhere in transit. Supposedly 2 of them have arrived, but I haven't gotten them, so they haven't arrived yet. So, and it's really funny. I looked on Amazon to check it out. they're so fucking cool, right? It's showing me that one of the packages has been delivered, right? That I have not received. It's showing another package delivered that I have received. But now, when you investigate, sometimes it'll show as having arrived when it hasn't actually arrived yet. Which I don't understand, because it was supposedly arrived yesterday. But according to them, you got to allow up to 36 hours. So, there's some sort of potential that it'll arrive tomorrow. Doesn't do me a whole lot of good today. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some old school Meshuggah. We haven't been playing a lot of Meshuggah tonight. A little bit of Beneath here on Coin Metal. And that was Helmet with Unsung. You know, they've actually come out with several albums, and for whatever reason that I never bought them. Anyway, I had this article in here somewhere, and I can't find it now. It's very disappointing. Something about Bitcoin, of course. But yeah, Ben Bernanke. It's hilarious, man, that he's, let me try undoing my closed tabs here. It's hilarious that he's gonna be at this fucking thing. I find it very silly. I mean, I'm surprised the guy's even, showing his face in public, in all honesty. I mean, because he presided over the Federal Reserve during that whole too big to fail bullshit. I mean, and that oh wow, that's interesting. But I just that he's gonna be there. I don't know. Like I said, I don't understand why why he would be involving himself in it. Let me continue unblocking some of my, or unclosing some of my tabs here and see if I can find that fucking article. I know it's not this. It's some weird shit. But I can't close this one because if I do that and I do undo close tab again, it'll bring that one back up and I don't want it to. And I already did that one. Oh, jeez. I don't know. I saw this interesting article on here, and it looked like the perfect thing to end with. And it might have been after this, because we already covered that SegWit thing, and we covered Swell. Where the hell is that thing? Damn it, Jim. Damn it, damn it, damn it. I was really hoping to read that thing. Anyway, I'm sure we can close out this episode without it. Kind of disappointing. So what have we learned this week, folks? Nothing that we didn't already know. You know, the druthers of the miners are really the thing that counts. And it's not oh, wait a minute. I think this is it. Yes. This is further on that progression that we were talking about with regard to Bitcoin mining moving over to Bitcoin Cash. Check this out. This one again is on trust nodes, but this one was authored a little bit too long ago for me to bother with, because it was authored on the 20th. Fuck it. We'll close out with it anyway. Bitcoin's second biggest mining pool, BTC.com, starts mining Bitcoin Cash. Now, this is interesting because Ver had dipped out of mining Bitcoin Cash after the initial spike. And so, yeah, it's kind of interesting that, anyway, I'll continue. Bitcoin's biggest mining pool after Ant Pool, BTC.com, which controls around 13% of the network's hardware share, has started mining Bitcoin Cash today. They have made no announcement as far as we are aware, but found a Bitcoin Cash block according to data provided by CoinDance. The hash rate of Bitcoin Cash has considerably increased today, with 21 blocks found in the past hour, far higher than the usual 6. Its hash rate on via BTC has risen to double that of Bitcoin Core in just hours after the currency became some 140% more profitable to mine than Bitcoin Core. The addition of BTC.com, however, is something surprising. They are owned by Bitmain/Antpool, but have full independence in their operations. Moreover, their pool admin is a strong SegWit and Bitcoin Core supporter, making their decision to mine Bitcoin Cash rather interesting. They have considerable hash power, which is probably solely owned by them, but it's unclear at this stage how much they are allocating to Bitcoin Cash, as we'll have to wait for more blocks to see how many they find. Following Bitcoin Cash's bull run to near $1,000, it is probable most, if not all, miners will attribute some hash rate to it, if for nothing else than as a hedge. Any ideology, therefore, might give way to the money incentives as miners follow the free market in providing the added security commensurable with the price. That would probably lead to a fall in Bitcoin Core's hash rate as miners move their hardware, which may leave them with slower blocks and even more congested network. But it is probably too early to say at this stage how things will develop, as the significant mining move has only seemingly begun today. And just as a retrospective here, we talked about it earlier, how there is congestion on the Bitcoin network, and it is causing higher fees, and it is causing significant delays in transactions. Whether this will continue over the longer term, I doubt it. I doubt that it'll last too much longer, but you never know. You never know. And actually, we do have just enough time that I want to get back and do one more article, but this one is on Cointelegraph, but it's because it's about our good friend Mr. John McAfee. I kiddingly wrote him a pitch about a facility around here. I worked at it at one point. It was a chip fab for Hyundai, and they were making RAM die for a little bit, and then Qualcomm bought it, and now they're trying to ditch it. And the facility is worth way more than they're trying to get for it. I mean, the land alone, I think it's going to be worth more than that. But the fact of the matter is it's all built out as industrial, and it's outside city limits, so it doesn't have the same tax inhibitions that it would have if it were built within the city limits. It also doesn't have as many constrictions on ecological shit. Anyway, point being is, it's a temperature-controlled clean room. Okay? It's a 3-story temperature-controlled clean room. It's got full electric strung all over the place. It's got pipes for delivering all manner of substances, whether it be CO2 or some liquid nutrients or whatever. Point being is, I used to work at it, okay, and I know that they have adaptive lighting, so they have lighting fixtures that can be adapted to many different fittings. Although I'm sure they would probably have to be upgraded a little bit for the high power sodiums that I would be putting in there, or metal halides or something like that, or maybe even some of those what do you call them? I want to say LCDs, but that's not it. LEDs. But there's some new iteration of those that are supposedly even more efficient. Anyway, point being that when you're talking about a facility like that, it's got open bays that are multiple floors, so you can do racks of plants in something like that. And it's like I said, it's temperature controlled. There's very minimal possibility of contaminants getting into it. So it'd be like the ultimate indoor growing facility is my point. That's what I'm getting to. I mean, I used to work down in the subfab, and if they've taken all the machines out, which I believe they did, the subfab bay is big enough. I could probably fit about 5,000 plants down there. I mean, it's fucking huge. I mean, well, it's not like monstrously huge, but it's a significant sized bay. I mean, we used to, because they didn't actually have enough production capacity upstairs to need for the test department to be very big. We had this huge open bay where we would surf it with fucking office chairs and shit like that. And if you've ever wondered how you do that, you either sit in an office chair and have somebody push you, or you get on it on your belly and you kick yourself forward. Anyway, it's really funny watching somebody in a bunny suit doing that. But anyway, it's a clean room, so it's got this type of air conditioning setup that they call laminar flow. And what it is that they push air they circulate the air downward from the ceiling, and they have vacuums in the flooring to suck all the particulates out. So it pushes whatever particulate matter it does come in with you or whatever through to the subfab flooring, the below flooring of the entire facility. And so you have like minimal possibility of contamination and whatnot, unless you have spillage or something like that. But the point being that it'd be the ultimate indoor growing facility. That's just what I've got to say about it. So anyway, I did a half-ass bullshit pitch to him because it's up for bid right now, or it's going to be up for auction for like $10 million. I mean, the facility is so huge that after you got all the lighting and all that shit in there, it would take you like maybe three grow cycles to be solvent. And that's if you're doing a 10-week cycle. Yeah. It'd take you maybe 3 cycles. You'd be 100% solvent. Anyway, I wanted to read this article really quick because Mr. McAfee is reflecting a little bit of our own perspective in this article, and I like that. Anyway, Joshua Althauser was the author, clearly, penis, meaning he has one, not that he is one. Bitcoin is not a bubble, says John McAfee in interview with RT. Cybersecurity expert John McAfee explained why Bitcoin is not a bubble. In an interview with RT, McAfee defended Bitcoin from people saying it is a bubble, stating that it is not and will continue to grow. Known for his bold predictions that Bitcoin will reach $500,000 within 3 years, he's confident that Bitcoin cannot be considered a bubble. Asked why the word bubble cannot be applied to Bitcoin, McAfee explained that Bitcoin is not a fiat currency. John McAfee, founder of McAfee Inc., says, quote, Bitcoin is not a fiat currency. It costs over $1,000 to create a Bitcoin today in electricity and computing cost. He also added that the value of Bitcoin is directly correlated to its number of users and the equivalent number of transactions. John McAfee adds, the value of Bitcoin is linked to the number of users and number of transactions. To further explain why Bitcoin cannot be and cannot and should not be considered a bubble, he continues to describe how Bitcoin grows. He said that while people use it for speculative purpose, it is not and cannot be tagged as a speculative instrument or investment. He said that the value of Bitcoin grows as the Bitcoin network grows. John McAfee explains, it is not a speculative investment even though it is being used as such by other people. As the Bitcoin network grows, the value of Bitcoin grows. As people move into Bitcoin for payments and receipts, they stop using US dollars, euros, and Chinese yuan, which in the long term devalues these currencies. There is more to that, but we won't go there yet. Bitcoin stability. Meanwhile, asked about Bitcoin stability with regards to Mark Cuban's tweet, which resulted in Bitcoin's drop, McAfee said it has no relation whatsoever. He said temporary fluctuations are meaningless and that are only created by speculators who don't have fundamental understanding of blockchain technology. In closing, McAfee said that Bitcoin is not something you pick out in the air because there is a metric to it. The more people use Bitcoin, the more valuable it will become. That's the only metric we can use. Interesting. Even McAfee, although he probably gave a bigger explanation on the RT article, Russia Today article. I'm not going to actually play it to you guys. But the point being that he probably expanded a little bit further, but if he didn't, we will. There is another reason why Bitcoin is not a bubble and why it is going up in price despite the issues with segregated witness and all that other shit. And that's because the Federal Reserve and other central banks are printing fiat currencies willy-nilly right now. And the more they print, the more they will increase the value of Bitcoin in relationship to the available liquidity out in the market. That's all there is to it. And the displeasure of monetary value coming into Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, it's minor. But when you consider the potential obligations that it would have been fulfilling out in the fiat market, and the fact that those volumes aren't, and that everything else is so derivative based these days that it has bigger macroeconomic effects. For every penny that you move into cryptocurrency, it has massive effects in the fiat markets, because again, those funds coming into the fiat markets are supposed to be fulfilling obligations and whatnot. And if they aren't, then the transactions that they were involved in aren't being taxed onto to cover those obligations. And so, like I said, it has a broader effect. I don't think that will collapse the global economy. I think it's doing that on its own through the central bankers. And the sooner the countries figure it out, the better. But that process has been continuing over the last, I want to say, century or so, as more and more countries have gotten central banks and have involved themselves in the central banking system. The countries that are involving themselves aren't producing enough GDP to cover the loans that are being issued by those central banks, and so they're introducing more debt into the debt pool. In any case, we will be closing it out here. And as far as what to play as a closing dance or a last dance, I'm not entirely sure at the moment. I'm sure I'll figure one out. But we will be back again on Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so, until then, I want you guys to have an excellent weekend and definitely be watching the markets. Going to be some exciting stuff happening, I'm sure. Because, our markets, in contrast to fiat markets, work 24/7. We don't have a downtime. In any case, we will be back again on Monday, and until then, you can find me on the Telegram channel or Telegram chat for Verge Currency. I'm also in the IRC chat room for Verge, and you'll be able to find me on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and I guess G+ as well. I didn't know this, but like when I make a new video and it gives you the link at the end, it automatically posts it on my G+. I thought that was awesome. So anyway, you can find me there. I'll probably be posting this. I am recording it. I'll probably either have it up tonight, if not tonight, possibly tomorrow. So until Monday, I want y'all to trade safe. Do your homework, because you shouldn't be finding out only now that Lightning Network isn't what they told you it was. You should have been able to figure it out from the paperwork. And I want you to watch out for your own bunghole, because it is obvious by now that there are people out to get it. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down Last Dance, title track off of 0 Days, here on Coin Metal. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate your support here and in the social media. Night.